line. Bad bitches, every city in my tribe. Look behind. Booty dominate.
Hello, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right in comparisonly speaking. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little mentally tired, but hanging in there. Thank you.
Well, mental tiredness is something that happens when you're talking a lot, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of thinking today.
Yeah. I pretty much agree with every statement you're making. I guess it would be more towards the you men really want to protect women, and it comes down to individualistic partnerships, right? So you make those social contracts with the individuals in your life to not just offer physical protection, but moral or emotional protection as well. So I think within the current world that we live in, it's not responsibility as much as it is a promise to the ones in your life to be able to provide that protection to them, whether it's from outside forces or inside forces. So I don't think it's that men necessarily don't want to protect women. I think it's more towards we're kind of centralizing where we are putting that effort into now.
Sure, I can agree with that. I would just argue that, again, like if men really do want women to be in a society that is safe and that they don't experience violence because of their gender, then I think they would have some kind of deconstruction, analysis, or insight to the certain systems that are in place. Because I would argue that the patriarchy as well as capitalism favors men in many areas at the disservice of women.
Okay. I was really just talking more on the personal one-to-one level rather than societal. Sure. I mean, absolutely. Things need to change kind of holistically in that respect. I don't think we should outright get rid of capitalism. What we need to do is restructure capitalism to be less afraid of the word socialism. Most, I would say, probably.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say you were in favor of socialism?
No, well, every country pretty much on this planet, except for the really, really far off ones, enable or enact some kind of socialist programs, right? So
Well,
it's a matter of how those.
social democracy is very different than socialism.
Well, you mentioned capitalism, so I'm thinking you were
Right.
speaking in an economic standpoint. Are you
I mean,
not?
I am,
Okay.
but as well, like again, social democracy still employs the capitalistic nature.
Correct. I mean, that's you, but yeah, but I was speaking or answering or responding directly to my thoughts at being economic in nature, and I was going to expand upon the social democracy thereafter, right?
Okay.
So I apologize, I misunderstood you.
No, that's
Um,
okay. Go ahead.
like I said, capitalism is necessary to be able to support and afford those socialist programs. Call it socialism, socialist, or democratic socialism is fine. But it needs to be structured in a way that is going to be regulated in such a way that it's fair. Now, how do we get there? I couldn't tell you that. I'm not that smart, and I don't have that
No,
much money.
no. I don't think that if we view society to be for the means of profit, that that is ethical. Because I think number one, we are wasting a lot of human labor by creating industries that actually have no value within the real world. I think that inherent capitalism that we see currently is inherently exploitative,
Yeah, I
where
agree.
people essentially take advantage of the labor force, and those who have access to capital get access to more capital. And then
Yeah.
even if we kind of take like the settler colonialism perspective, America's only developed
I'm sorry. What?
the global. America is only a developed country because we have exploited the global south of Latin America as well as Africa, which we continue to do so today,
And what do
which I also find.
you expand on that?
Yeah, in terms of resources as well as their own economy. If we look at Latin America, if you want a great book, which none of the books I reference are ever within reach, it's The Open Veins of Latin America, how many economies we've destabilized, sanctions that we've issued that have caused like economic devastation to these countries at the economic benefit of the United States. If
Sure.
we look at Africa, Africa is one of the poorest continents. Yet it's the richest in resources. I think when it comes to chocolate, oil, um, I always forget the mineral that has to do with technology. I
Silver,
think it's
copper,
cobalt.
nickel.
Um,
It's
These are
silver,
the
copper.
sea. These are the
It's
sea.
it's normally
Anywho,
it's usually
to
in
make
this
like electronics and stuff like
silver,
that.
silver,
Where's
copper.
Athena? Athena, are you here?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. No, it's not that.
Oh,
Um, it's not quartz. It's not copper. Athena, if you're here, join. So yes, so we do exploit like resources from Africa, pay them very little for them, and then essentially sell it back to them at higher prices. So yeah, we have destabilized many economies and extracted resources from other countries for our development.
so then, are you recommending that we pull back from the world economic table, or
I think we should go more towards social. We should obviously go towards socialism, to where workers own the means of production, and that the inherent goal is not to generate profit, to provide needs, the basic needs for everybody.
yeah, I probably would say that the problem with that is you're going to have to change everyone's internal personality or internal, I guess, mindset to being more altruistic than, you know, greedy.
I agree. I do think like capitalism and settler colonialism is very much rooted in individualism. So I do think people should move away from that, and we should move towards a more of a cooperative nature
Sure. I
and
mean, no,
act as
no.
a collective.
And as a idyllic world situation, I could agree with you with that. But I suppose I would say that that's not going to happen in our lifetime or the next few generations until something cataclysmic happens.
I don't know. I mean, we could always bring back the guillotine and eat the rich. I think that's a good start.
Yeah, except the rich pretty much own all the weapons. So
I
um,
disagree. They own all the wealth.
yeah, unfortunately, that wealth pays for the weapons. Um, but I guess I would think more towards fixing the system that we have and then moving it into that direction as
Well,
we are able
I
to.
don't think the system is broken. I think it's working as intended.
No, all right. Well, I guess you're taking me quite literally. And what I'm trying to say is there are checks and balances that we need to start putting in as a people to be able to allow it to work more effectively. I mean, again, you have to look at other Western societies or even in European societies and see how they're controlling their means of wealth through the programs that they're issuing to their people. And
Again, like Europe, Europe is doing the same thing. That's why it's like under colonialism. They have also exploited Africa and
well,
continue to exploit the global south. Like
at
that's
some
what
point,
European countries have done to gain economic prosperity.
yeah, I understand that. But again, um, even with that being said, I mean, you can't blame a country that maybe is only working within the world form that is connected with right now.
Yes,
So
I can.
what? Well,
I
no,
can
you
speak
can't.
out against colonialism and
Oh, I didn't say you can
imperialism.
speak. No. I didn't. I'm sorry. I misspoke. You can speak out about it all you want. I just don't know an effective way to stop that. And I guess just the way I am, I like to have plausible solutions that are going to be able to allow for that change to happen.
Well, like I said, bring the guillotine back and eat the rich.
No, I said
Step one.
plausible. So
That's plausible. I mean, we outweigh them in persons.
yeah, again, not plausible though if you think about it, right? I mean,
I mean,
I,
yeah, it's just even look, I don't even think we need to necessarily like actually commit violence towards them. We could just all stop working.
sure. Again, that's a great idea on paper, but again, just the way I am, it's more about plausibility of actually an effective plan.
Go on strike, not like, you know, I think we go on strike obviously in certain sectors, not all at once, because that would create havoc and chaos and hell. But yeah,
But
no,
that's what I'm saying.
like see, that's what I'm talking about. Workers hold a lot of power, and if we actually start engaging with that power, then we can see positive changes to the way we organize and structure. But no, I think capitalism inherently relies off exploitation.
No, and I agree with that, which is why I'm saying we need to change the
Right.
system, but you work within the system that we have right now. because, like you said, it would be cataclysmic or it would be a catastrophe if we just one day said, nope, this is what we're doing.
Well, I mean, if we did it for a day, it wouldn't be so bad. But like, obviously, you don't want, people to not have access to resources. But
well, correct.
anywho,
That's
I
kind of where
I
I'm
want to
going.
kind of get the conversation back on track. What were
Please
we
do.
talking about?
I think it was the protection of men protecting women. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So I think the system that we're currently in and how society constructs is designed to hurt women, or women will experience violence.
Well, women do experience violence. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a fact. It's a matter of the confidence you build within the women as they're growing up, and the confidence you bring in men or young boys as they grow up as well. The confidence to be respectful towards each other and to respect others. Sorry. Hold on one second. I had surgery last week on my chest, so give me a second. Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
So I think it's a matter of, calling out those who need to be called out, holding people accountable, and then, educating the younger generations to be able to be better.
Okay. Well, if you're for about systemic change and like deconstructing masculinity and capitalism and the patriarchy, then I think we agree.
I guess then I see. I'm more of a middle ground type person. I don't think all forms of masculinity is bad either.
I'm not saying that it is, but I'm
No,
saying
okay.
that masculinity very much rests in the foundation of it is very much rooted in violence.
No, I disagree with that.
Why?
I think that's what the extreme is, and what those who took advantage of it did, and it's now prevalent in our society. But I don't think the initial roots of
No,
masculinity is to be
I
violent.
think we revere men who master the language of violence, which is why like cops and people who are in the military are so upheld.
Well, cops I can maybe agree with you on, but being a former vet, I would say that maybe I can maybe disagree and agree at the same time, just not wholeheartedly.
I don't understand.
Well, I mean, you're talking about basic rules of function between the two organizations. Both are technically civilian funded and civilian run, but cops are under much more leniency with what they're able to get away with than, say, someone in the military. Not to say that things haven't changed or still need to change in the military, but how we're trained and how we're developed is vastly different than, say, the police departments in the country are.
Right, but you are a state entity that is meant to establish authority through violence.
Yeah, I mean that's probably what regular frontline soldiers are. They do teach
That's what I'm
officers a little
talking
bit.
about. If you want me to be more specific, I'll say soldiers.
Okay, it's fine. I mean that's perfectly understandable. But the actual mission goal is to create stability, not necessarily through violence, which is why traditionally, at least now in the last quarter to last maybe half century, we have tried to install diplomatic relations into most situations before we make the military a viable option.
Well, then you acknowledge that the military is meant to exert force.
No, the military is
It was
a,
cobalt. That was it. I think that was it.
what was it? Cobalt?
I think it was cobalt.
Cobalt's one of them. Yes, it's cobalt, silver, gold, platinum. It could be. I mean, cobalt seems right. No, I don't necessarily think it's there to enact the actual force. It could be used in many different ways. I've been deployed on missions where there was no need for any type of force. It was more for aid, because we also send the military in when it comes to aid functions as well.
Sure, I mean, I can agree there are other avenues, but the primary purpose of the military is to establish the state's authority through force.
See, this is where I disagree, and it's probably going to come down to a little bit more of a deeper conversation. So we'll keep it brief, but it also has a lot to do with what everybody sees in the media, sees in the TV, right? Unfortunately, with the way the media works nowadays on the 24-hour news cycle, it's pretty much sensationalism all the time, yellow journalism, as they like to say. So all the times that you see military force is really what a small percentage of the actual things that we do are, or what I did was. We don't get the TV
Okay.
credits for going in
Well,
and
I mean,
reestablishing
you would
electrical
agree
grids.
that like the most revered veterans are the ones who are like in active combat.
You mean like the regular normal person, or are we talking like leaders?
Just society in general.
Society in general, sure. For the everyday layman, yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, that we do very much revere men who have mastered the language of violence
I mean,
in
yeah,
certain contexts, like police and um, military.
yeah. I mean, if you're going to a base level, but I think you're lacking the nuance of just a lot of things in that comparison. I mean, and that could be stated for a lot of things, right? So, um, ow. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where I think personal experience might, I guess, blind me to what you're seeing compared to what I see, type of thing.
Why do we have the largest military, or why do we have the most expensive one?
Honestly, greed and money. Truman and
You don't
Eisenhower
you
were
don't
the.
think it's to like establish to expand like American interests through imperialism?
No, I do not. I think
No.
that might be a an affect of it, but it's not the reason why.
Why?
So the military industrial complex is a giant jobs program for companies and corporations, right? Based upon military history, if you listen to Eisenhower and Truman, the one thing they worried about more than anything, besides communism, was the military industrial complex. They knew that if they had a grip hold on the government with contracts and such, they would abuse it to no extent. So a lot of these military companies or defense companies basically just get ultra rich by building things that we don't really need. So I think the defense budget is the way it is because we have giant jobs programs for all these companies like Halliburton, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, things like that. I think it's more or less for greed and money than it is for expanding our culture.
Well, imperial. Okay. Do you think? I mean, I don't disagree with that. I definitely think we uphold the military, obviously, to continue to boost up capitalism. So, sure. I think both those things can be true.
Oh yes, two things can be true at the same time, and that's why I gave it to you that the affect of us influencing the rest of the world is, like I said, an affect of the effect, which is the military-industrial complex. I did give
Sure.
that to you 100%. I just think
Okay.
I don't think that was the original intent. Like that wasn't what they went in there for. They were in there for the money.
Um, I mean, I think that could be debatable, but to be honest, like I don't have the information on that to make a good argument.
No, that's okay. That's
Is there
okay.
anything else you wanted to talk about?
Um, my only question, I guess, one last question. Now, when you're saying that trans women, great.
Yeah.
I agree in the sense of what you're saying. Now, are you talking about how they refer to themselves? I know you said gender is fluid, non-binary, but a lot of the trans folks that I know, actually through this app and through my personal life, they prefer to be called trans men, trans women, for a distinction of their sex rather than their gender. Because we all know that gender is fluid, but sex is not, right? So the biological sex that you're given is your biological sex because you can't change that. Where gender, yes, is absolutely
That's
fluid,
not that's not necessarily true because there are aspects of your gender or your sex that you can change.
biologically speaking, but such as
Like HRT, like when you change your hormones is a sex characteristic. And when you
sure, your
change your hormones, you actually induce intersex conditions.
sure, but your actual DNA does not change. Is where I think the distinction is being made. And intersex also is counts for a very tiny percentage. So if we're looking at the overall numbers,
But you are still inducing an intersex characteristic. So I would
but a
say
character,
that trans,
but
one second, I would
sorry.
say that trans women who go through this align more biologically with females than they do with males.
Yes, but you also have to take into consideration it's an outside force that doesn't permanently change anything. So you could stop taking
It,
it and there would be a
it
reversion.
does. Sure, but it does change it. Just like when men see decreases in testosterone, that changes certain phenotypic expressions. Yeah, so there are certain sex characteristics that are mutable.
Yeah, they're mutable but not changeable. So I guess that's a
Well,
distinction as
mutable
well.
is changing.
Well, mutable means you can pause it.
No, mutable means you can mutate it.
Oh, mute. Okay, so that's my problem. That's my fault. Sorry. No, I
No worries.
disagree with that, and that's fine.
Well, you
Agree.
can't
Agree.
disagree with that.
I
You
can.
can't disagree with a fact.
Well, all right. So how about this? Then I would say then that I am coming from two different trains of thought. You have your thinking on it, and the trans community members that I speak to have a different theory altogether or a different idea altogether. And in my
We're not
experience,
talking about theory though. We're talking about actual medicine and science.
I'm using theory.
If someone starts taking medications that suppress the hormones and then starts taking medications that replace it, then yes, you have changed your hormone composition, even if it's artificial. And that will change certain phenotypic expressions that you make
I
or
was
that your
using
body has.
I was using theory as scientific theory, not hypothesis.
Okay.
Sorry, just wanted to explain that.
Sure.
And again, like I said, people in the trans community have told me different, and I'm respecting what the actual people are saying in that situation. So I'm going based off of what I've been educated on and what I've been told, and that's by.
Then I recommend you just read the science.
Well, well, to be honest, in my life at this point, I mean, I'm thinking I'm going on, the horse's mouth rather than books. So I believe what you're saying, that what the books are saying. But if it's something that you can actually revert back onto, then technically it's not something that's permanent. And that
Right. Mutable doesn't have
chromosomes
to
are,
be permanent. It's something that can mutate. So yeah, just like clay is mutable, you can mutate it into a different shape
but it's still
and
clay.
then you can mutate it back.
But it's still clay.
But we're talking about what shape does it take on. So it
Yeah,
can be a cube and then you can mutate it to a cylinder. That makes it a cylinder. You can mutate it back to a cube. Yes. It
but it's
still
still,
means that it
but, it,
changes.
but it's still a clay cylinder.
That's not what we're talking about, what changes. We're talking about the shape changes. That's the comparison that I make. That because something can change shape, it's still changing.
It's changing form. It's not changing property.
Correct.
Exactly. So
Yes.
again,
And when you take different hormones, not only like certain properties in you do change. Just like when you add oxygen to hydrogen, it changes, or hydrogen into oxygen. It changes into water.
wait, you say change hydrogen into oxygen?
Yeah, H2O. If you add hydrogen and oxygen together,
You said
it
change
changes
it though.
into water.
It combines. It doesn't change.
It,
Like
it,
you don't. Sorry, bear with me. I'm very specific with my words, so it's hard for me to, I guess, tell the subtle differences. I get what you're saying now.
okay.
But anyway, yeah, that was it. Like I said, I can go have that conversation with the trans friends I have here and at home and see what they think about it. And
Okay.
I'm so fucking cute, bitch. I'm so fucking cute.